What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Winter Disc Golfer here. Today I got a chance to play Mt Airy, just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. Starting off, hole 1, it's a par 4, just a little pitch up to the top of this hill, and then it kind of bends off to the right into the woods. So I landed in a perfect spot right at the top of the hill. I have a little bit of a gap to get down into the basket, so I'm throwing a splice here. And I get over on it pretty good. I put a nice flex on it, and I landed about 20 short. So I had this left for the birdie putt. And I feel like hole 1, I'm always a little bit nervous, but my miss is low, so I had to aim high at the elevated basket, and it worked out great. Hole 2 is across the road, kind of over this hill and down to the right a little bit. I was throwing my inertia, which is my flippy fairway driver, and I ended up putting it on a little bit too much hyzer, and I ended up just on the left side here. So I'm pitching up with a judge, and I leaked out a little bit left side. So I had almost a tester left for the par, but it was close enough where it was basically a tap in. Hole 3 is dogleg left. You can either go around the right side or what I'm doing here, over the road. There is a bit of a gap, but you're flirting with the OB the whole way. I got through, but I hit some of the later trees and kicked down here into the fairway. So I don't really have much of a backhand approach, so I'm going around the outside with the splice again. Something nice and overstable to try to trickle its way over to the basket. And I gave it a little bit too much juice. I ended up pushing this long, so I have this for the comebacker. And just like that, on hole 1 I was nervous about leaving it short, and I was here too, so I like go a little high. These next 2 holes are kind of off on their own. They're just kind of extra holes that they've added in as kind of transition holes. I threw a Toro up into the fairway, made the putt. Very happy with making that putt. I was about edge of circle there, so happy with that. Next one, we're going back up the hill through the MD4. Got up to about edge of circle. You can see how much elevation change there is here, so the camera angle had to be a little close because that was the only flat spot I could get to. And I ended up sailing that one over the top, and I left that one short. Cleaned up for the par. Alright, this next hole, basically straight down the fairway. It's just tucked off on the right side. I threw my Honor, which is my straight fairway driver, and I just turfed it. So I'm going with the range here. This is brand new. I've been looking for something to complement the Berg that's a little bit more understable, but I juiced that. Still working on the power needed for that disc. So player 2's coming in clutch. So this next hole, you go down probably 300 feet, and then it's a 90 degree off to the right, and then it goes probably another 200 feet. So I threw it a good forehand, but I was a little bit inside, so I made it all the way down to the corner, but I was probably 5 feet short of having an actual look. So I was scrambling here with just a little flick forehand roller, trying to get out of trouble. So here I'm going with the berg instead of the range, and I pulled it just to the right. My putting hasn't been the most confident this round, so trying to give myself a chance there, but as usual my normal miss is low and I caged it. This next one is 250 feet uphill, throwing the honor again. That road runs right behind it, so you don't want to go long. Ended up just a little bit short left, but I had this for the birdie. I ended up right under the basket again. Player 2's doing pretty good today. Alright, I was playing through a group here, so camera angle's off a little bit, but I ended up parking this one. That was a really nice forehand with the splice. There was a headwind left to right, and I was going back and forth on backhand or forehand, but just went with the super overstable splice and it worked out great. So hole 8 here, it's like 200 feet downhill a little bit. There's a parking lot behind it, so you don't want to go too far. Through the berg and parked it. Spoiler, third park job in a row. So I got a brand new inertia since my 4-year-old is getting a bit flippy. So I had a head right to left and I gave this one the sauce. Got it all the way up the hill, and I was actually a little bit long. I think it's like 350 feet up the hill. Drained that one for the birdie. So that was a nice quick turkey to bring me back a couple strokes. So hole 10 here. This is a really fun hole. You've got the trees on the right that prevent the big spike hyzer backhand, and then farther down the fairway there's the trees on the left which prevent the big forehand hyzer. So you really have to flex something through the middle that kind of has an accentuated mid-flight. So I threw the grace and I ended up cooking it. I think it's around 400 feet to the basket, and I probably ended up 450, but saved the par. This next one here goes just up and over the hill. It's pretty short, but I ended up pulling that right. Ended up in the middle of the fairway. And goes downhill a good amount, so I just laid up here, tapped in the par. This next hole, I was remembering playing this one last year and the basket was just straight in the middle, and it's kind of down in a bowl, so it's hard to see it from the tee, but I didn't realize it until I got down the fairway that they tucked it in the tree line on the right. So I was probably 20 feet away from the old position, but maybe 60 or 70 away from this new position. So I was trying to bank it around the tree with the Toro, and I just caged it. Ugh, that was so close. I thought I had that the whole way. Alright, hole 13 here. Par, I think it's a par 3, but it bends around to the right, and I went with just a big power hyzer forehand with the Rive. Ended up just a little bit left side. Typically I would go with the backhand here since it tends to get farther to the right, but there were cars in the parking lot to the left, and if I hyzered out I didn't want to risk hitting something, so just played it safe with the forehand and pitched up for a par. Hole 14 is a nice easy par 3, throwing the MD4 on a little skip shot. There are some overhanging branches that I like to avoid, and then the road comes in pretty quick on the left, so if I throw the mid down the middle and get a little skip, I feel like I can control the distance a little bit better and not worry about it drifting off to the left. Hole 15 is another pretty long one. It bends off to the right the whole way, and it's kind of on a peninsula where the middle is flat up on the top here, and then both sides fade down to the right, to the bottom of the hill. So you really want to stay in the middle of the fairway if you can. My drive skipped down to the right a little bit with the rive, and then the range came up a little bit short on my approach, so I hit a bit of a tester. Ended up putting with the berg because there was a little bit of wind swirling around and I didn't want to go too far past the basket if I missed. As you can tell, I was having some fun just throwing extra shots. Hole 16 here is this is a really fun one. I love throwing the hyzer flip that almost stands up to flat, but just continues to push on that penetrating hyzer line. I think this one was about 350 feet, and that new inertia was perfect for it. I ended up pin high just a little bit left side. As you can tell, this is about 50 feet downhill. Drained it for the birdie.
Not trying to skip that one.
Hole 16, sorry, hole 17 is up over this hill and then up over the next hill inside some pine trees. And there's the wind I was talking about. Perfect headwind here. The basket is tucked inside those pine trees, kind of on the back side. And I thought I could get it there with the splice, but I came up just a little bit short. Probably should have thrown the rive there, but I didn't want to send it too far past. So here's where I landed with the splice, and I thought going uphill I had to give it a little extra pop, but I ended up sailing pretty far past with the judge. So I've got this left for the comebacker, and it is not pretty. I've got a low ceiling, branches in front of me, not really much of a chance to save this one, so I basically end up just laying up here. And the wind took the camera down for the 5th time this round, I think. My tripod has probably a foot to a foot and a half base on it, and when I have it extended up, it catches the wind pretty good. So hole 18 is not my favorite finishing hole. The pro shop on the left kind of comes into play. I didn't want to hit a window or break something, so I basically just threw my honor into the ground here, laid up with the range, and then tapped in the birdie, or tapped in the par. So with that, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.